Welcome to Generous Impact. I'm Amanda Brummitt. Today I'm joined by Jess Palmer, Program Director at Keep Austin Fed, a nonprofit that rescues surplus food and delivers it to neighbors facing food insecurity while cutting waste. We'll talk about how their model works, why it matters for people and the planet, and how you can plug in. Jess, thank you so much for being here today. I was so excited to hear about Keep Austin Fed. But before we get into the organization, I'd love to know about you. Who are you personally and professionally?
Sure. Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here too. About me, I am originally from Central Texas, but I've lived in a handful of other places over the last 20 or so years. I'm really happiest when I'm outside. I love to go hiking and camping, being on the water, in the water, working in the garden, exploring and experiencing all those things with my family, my 2 kids and my husband and our dog. I love to cook, which really is, goes hand in hand with working in food systems. Somewhat ridiculous, but I really love dogs.
Like how much?
To the point where you're driving down the street and you see a really cute dog and you're like, I kind of want to pull over and go give that dog a hug. I love dogs. My friends make fun of me about that sometimes. They're just like, oh, hold on, we have to stop. Jess needs to go say hi to that dog. But yes. So needless to say, our dog gets a lot of love because he's really special.
Oh.
Yeah. And I always love to have like a house project going on, whether it's repainting cabinets or tiling a floor or installing a dishwasher. That was my most recent one, which was really great.
Okay. Minus the cooking, I might want to be your best friend because you've just described all my hobbies, but this could still work out because I hate cooking, but I love to eat and I love to clean up afterwards.
There you go. Oh, yes, please. You are my new best friend.
Yeah, gardening, house projects, being outside, being on the water, those are all the things that make me happy. And everybody should love dogs. And if they don't, honestly, I think it's a red flag.
Agreed. 100%. But yeah, like professionally and academically, like my background is actually in natural resource management. I have a master's degree from University of Michigan in ecological restoration. So there was a point in time where I may have gone down a more traditional environmental ecology path, but I sort of fell into the food system world. And when I look back, it's kind of made perfect sense because food's always been a thread like running through my life, whether it's like, I grew up with a huge vegetable garden that me and my sister, like, if y'all are hungry, like run out to the vegetable garden and grab a snack, and my parents really loved to cook and they were good cooks. So meals were a really important part of our house. I remember I lived in really rural Central Texas and I remember, high school was a 30-minute drive from my house and I would come home after school to have dinner with my family and then go back to school for the football game or the basketball game or whatever that evening. And, I've worked with student gardening groups in graduate school and worked at the Arboretum. And so, there's always been some sort of connection to food in my life. And I think it's really how I build community. So, yeah, working in food systems really has made a lot of sense. And before working at Keep Austin Fed, I was working for a land trust in Central Virginia, and I was helping run their farm and food program. That's sort of like the opposite end of the food insecurity and food rescue spectrum. Like I was working more in production and agriculture and supporting small and mid-sized family farms, helping them find ways to access land or connect with markets or get business training, develop branding around their products. But all those years have really given me like a deep appreciation for like how broad and complex, the food system is. And now I find myself at Keep Austin Fed.
Yeah. Okay. So I totally want to know what drew you to Keep Austin Fed. But first, you use the word food insecurity. Can you give us, doesn't have to be scholarly, but what does food insecurity mean to you? Or it can be scholarly if you want it to be.
Yeah. Technically, it's just when someone doesn't have consistent access to healthy and nutritious food.
Didn't know the healthy or nutritious part. So if I can get to
Yeah.
McDonald's every day, I still have food insecurity potentially.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can still say, like, you have a corner store around this corner from your house. You might be 5-10 miles from, a grocery store where you have more variety and more healthy and nutritious options. So you can still be in, like, a food desert, as they say, or food swamp, and still be facing food insecurity.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's dive into what drew you to keep Austin fed.
Yeah. One of the last projects that I worked on in my previous job was to put together a proposal for that organization to build a food bank farm on a property that they owned. And it was really like my first dive into food insecurity and food donation. And while that project focused mostly, focused on turning land into agricultural production, that seed of sort of getting food to people, and especially people in need, and getting healthy food to people in need, was really planted. And I kind of just wanted more of that. Like, it just felt so good. And then pretty soon after that, we moved to Austin. And a friend of mine introduced me to Keep Austin Fed, and I was really drawn to the organization because of, one, it addresses hunger and getting food to people, but then also with sort of that environmental background, it's addressing food waste, and they're doing both of those at the same time. It's incredibly hands-on, and the impact of the work is, quite immediate. Like, literally within an hour, you can get food from a grocery store to a community food distribution, so it's happening right then and there. And so I felt really lucky to be able to apply for and get a job with Keep Austin Fed and really work to, further that mission of reducing food waste and feeding people through programs that really focus on choice and the dignity of the person that you're serving. We are a nonprofit. We're a charitable nonprofit, right? But we try to take the charity out of that and empower people to be able to shop the foods that they want and, be really cognizant about people's needs, working with our recipient organizations and the community of what do your residents really need? What does your community really need? What is comforting? What brings them joy? What can we do better? And so really that kind of respect and thoughtfulness of the organization as well, has really drawn me in.
Yeah, and has a huge ripple effect. I love that you use the word dignity in it. How do you guys go about doing this? How does the magic happen?
There's so many logistics. And that is a lot of what I do. I do the behind the scenes logistics of getting food from point A to point B. And really, at its core, it's super simple. Food businesses have extra food, and it's really good food. It can be individually prepared meals. It can be trays of prepared food from a catering event. It's food from the grocery store or your neighborhood cafe or a restaurant. And instead of it going into the compost or into the landfill, we work with those food donors to save that food. And then we schedule a time to come pick it up. One of our volunteers goes, grabs it from the food donor, and then delivers it directly to either one of our recipient organizations or to one of our community giveaways. So, directly to the people who need it. And we have two missions, right? It's the mission of getting people fresh and healthy food, and that's not necessarily just about filling stomachs. It's also about creating some stability and, building healthier outcomes and creating a sense of belonging and community. And then there's also that environmental impact, right? Food is the single biggest component of U.S. landfills. It makes up about a quarter of municipal solid waste. So, when that food goes into the landfill, it's breaking down and it emits methane gas, which was a major contributor to climate change. And so, like, every pound that we rescue is like a climate win, where you get to support people who are facing food insecurity and you're supporting the planet, like, in the same action.
Yeah. And then who are those partner organizations? Are you dropping it off at a school, in an apartment complex, Meals on
Yeah.
Wheels? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So we work with around 85 different recipient organizations in Austin, like, on a regular basis. And they really run the spectrum. Like, it's older adult housing, it's affordable housing, it's child care centers, refugee and immigrant service support centers, family shelters, addiction and recovery service houses, soup kitchens, other food pantries. And then we do run maybe 10 or so community giveaways that our staff kind of coordinate and organize and run on a weekly basis, where we're going to a location, same time, same day, every week, and letting the community come out and sort of shop from what we're bringing to that giveaway.
Nice. That is a lot of logistics.
And we pick up from about 50 or so regular food donors. And those are folks who are, like, on our regular weekly schedule. We do unscheduled pickups as well, too. So someone can call us and say, hey, like, we had a catering order, get canceled last minute, but we already made the food. Can we donate it? And triage that pickup and find somebody to go do it and match it with a recipient organization and make sure that that food goes to people.
Yeah. And then on those organizations that you pick up from, are they people that we know in the community and, frankly, that I can go spend money with? Like, can you give us names? Where should I spend the money?
Yeah. We'll work with sort of any permitted food business. We're not able to take food from, like, a personal home just because of food safety reasons and guidelines and things like that. But we work with Trader Joe's, we work with Whole Foods, we work with Sprouts, Fresh Plus. We pick up from places like Houndstooth Coffee, First Light Books, Upper Crust Bakery. We also pick up from some more, like, corporate cafeterias from, like, the Visa Austin campus, one of the Meta campuses. So it really, really ranges on. Sometimes it's a bag of leftover pastries and tacos. And then sometimes, like a Trader Joe's, it fills one of our refrigerated vans. And not to jump ahead too much, but that's also a reason why, like, volunteering is so cool, because you can really find, like, a rescue that fits within, like, your ability or your needs. Like, it may be tough to haul 15 boxes of grocery food, but going and picking up a bag or two of pastries or tacos is totally doable.
Yeah. And then do you work with other nonprofits? And, like, what I'm thinking of, we've had the guys from Tank Proof on the show, and they do a pickup at Trader Joe's on Saturday mornings. Is that through Keep Austin Fed? Oh, I love it.
It is. Yeah, they're great. They've been a partner of ours for a really long time. And they pick up. That's one of our regular pickups. And we sort of connected them with that Trader Joe's, and they do the pickup and then do their distribution to their community. But we know those guys.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then let's talk impact, both macro and micro. Like, what are the numbers on people you've helped, how much food you've saved?
Yeah. I mentioned that we have about 50 food donors, around 85 recipient organizations. We're looking at, on average, somewhere around, like, 750 food rescues per month.
Wow.
Yeah. And we're rescuing anywhere between, like, 85,000 to 100,000 pounds of food per month. I think 2001 or 2002 was the first year that we hit rescuing over 1 million pounds in that year, which was a big milestone for the organization.
Yeah.
And, all that food equals, I think it's somewhere around 830,000 meals.
Wow.
That are going back out to the community. And, we do some of those community giveaways where we're giving food directly to the recipient, but a lot of our distributions or redistributions are going to our recipient organization partners. So we're not actually sure how many people our food is feeding, but we've done some numbers and chatting with those organizations. We're thinking we're feeding or reaching around 13,000 people per month through all of our redistribution.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It's really, it's a big impact.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And especially, when you think about Texas has the second highest rate of food insecurity in the nation, just behind Arkansas. And in Travis County, we see 1 in 7 folks being food insecure, and 1 in 5 of those are kids. And that definitely increases during holidays and the summer break when, they don't have access to school meals. But that's around 188,000 people in Austin, Travis County who aren't sure where their next meal is going to come from.
That's mind blowing. And then I like to put, a face and a name to numbers. Are there any stories that you can share about specific individuals that you guys have had an impact on?
Personally, there's nothing better than food. Rescuing food is such a heartwarming and just such a wonderful experience. There's really nothing better than going and picking up food from folks and then delivering it to the daycare center, and there's snacks in there and you see eyes light up and they're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be perfect. It'll go with X, Y, and Z. And, or, just being able to bring something different to an elder care facility where, they don't necessarily have the ability to cook meals. Maybe we bring them sandwiches every once in a while, but then sometimes we can bring them individually prepared meals that they can just heat up in the microwave. And, one of the organizations that we deliver those meals to reached out and sent me an email with a picture of one of their residents who had put together a list of all of his favorite meals from the Cook Unity food donations that we give them.
Oh.
And he had cut out all of the chef's pictures. Cook Unity, if you're familiar with it, is a meal service, an individual meal service that they prepare the meals and then deliver them to you. They're one of our food donor partners. And this resident had cut out all the chefs' names and their pictures and had put them on a poster board with his favorite meals from those individual chefs and just how much he enjoyed them. He was partially blind, so having something that he can easily put in the microwave and know that it's good and it's ready to eat is just such a help for him. And that was just such a lovely story. And seeing that kind of impact that those meals have on him.
Yeah, when you're diving through those logistics, trying to figure out how in the heck to make things work, and then you can remember his face. You're like, okay, I can figure this out.
Right, because you can definitely get really bogged down and just oh God, I got to get this food from here to here, and it needs to happen quickly, and we need to make sure that it's the right kind of food for the recipient organization. They just step back, take a deep breath, and say, okay, it's making a difference. It is feeding someone today. It feels really good.
Yeah. So I hope someday we're no longer talking about this topic and your organization sadly doesn't need to exist, or happily doesn't need to exist. But probably not
what we always say.
Yeah, probably not going to happen in my lifetime. So how do we create something that leaves an impact that outlives you, keep Austin fed?
Yeah. We always talk about the best day is when we have to dissolve Keep Austin Fed, because there's no food waste and there's no food insecurity.
Right.
It is always kind of being food rescue. It is a little bit different because there is a lot of food waste. Like I said, we pick up 1 million pounds of food each year, but the city, Austin and Travis County, throws away 1.24 million pounds of food per day. So, I mean, and obviously that is not all like salvageable and like surplus food. It's not all like edible, but that's an astounding amount of food. So yeah, when we talk about like celebrating these numbers of like, oh, we're doing all this great like food rescue work, you're just kind of like, but we're also, we're celebrating food waste. We're celebrating food insecurity, and it feels a little weird, right? But I think really like the idea of creating or making a lasting impact, for me, it really comes down to building those genuine connections with people and letting the passion that you have for your work kind of shine through. And in food access, you cross paths with so many different people, from like the volunteers and the food donors, our recipient organizations, and then of course like the people who are actually receiving the food. And every single one of those relationships matter. You may not see that long-term effect, but those small interactions, like they really add up. Showing up consistently, being sincere in your work, like you hope that creates that lasting impact. So like you're saying, like it can ripple. Like food access work carries a lot of emotional weight. There's a lot of anxiety and stress for people that Keep Austin Fed serves. Like it is scary to not know where your next meal is coming from, or to be worried that you can't feed your kids, or you have to decide whether you're going to buy your medication or go to the grocery store, or that you're having to rely on a system that isn't always easy to navigate. And so that reality is really always front and center for us. And it requires like approaching every interaction with that empathy and slowing down and listening, honoring people's dignity. Because I do think that while the food matters, the way people are treated matters. And like people are going to remember how someone made them feel. And I don't know. I just think that's like baked into the work that we do. And that's how I hope the work that we do and the organization and like the impact that we make just sort of carries on.
Yeah, that's really beautiful.
I don't know. I get kind of emotional about it because it's good work.
Yeah, it's so funny that you used that term, because what I've been thinking about, and I hadn't decided if I was going to ask, but I'm going to ask now since you said good work. Do you guys interact at all with Good Work Austin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, perfect. Because if not, I'm like, we have to make the introduction. I'm glad to hear that you already work together.
Yep. Yeah, we sure do.
Fabulous. Kara is going to be on the show in February.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, nice. And then what's next for Keep Austin Fed? What's on the horizon?
I think really we just want to keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
I always feel like that can sometimes be a catch-22 question, because, I don't think we don't necessarily want to grow just for the sake of numbers. We want to grow, or our next steps be things that are making sure that we're directly serving the community's needs, and that we're doing it in a really thoughtful manner. So in the big picture, it's making sure that we continue to have like strong communication and relationships with our partner organizations. It's finding ways to expand into the underserved neighborhoods that we aren't currently in. What does that look like? How do we do that? How can we bring on more food donors and encourage them to have food donation programs and have us come and pick up their surplus? How do we increase food donations? How do we make sure we're getting more culturally relevant foods to the recipient organizations that we work with? And really just being thoughtful about like how we approach expanding our like food access model and the work that we do. There's so many different ways that you can go. Like we've toyed with finding kitchen space so that we can take trays of prepared food and repackage them into individually prepared, like to-go containers, because it's much easier for us to find recipient organizations that can take that kind of stuff than like big trays of food. We've grown a lot already over the last 5 years. Like I was the second full-time employee that they hired. We're now 5 full-time employees, 1 part-time employee or hourly employee. But we have 3 walk-in cooler hubs. We can store food, cull and sort and package up banana boxes to go back out to recipient organizations. We have 2 vans, 1 refrigerated, 1 not, that they're able to do larger pickups. Just really finding ways to either build our capacity or just streamline and smooth the logistics of what we currently do.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. This is all really inspiring. And I'm taking a lot of inspiration from it, both for life and food. But who inspires you? Who or what organizations?
Ooh, I actually think I'm going to keep this pretty close to home. And because I haven't really mentioned too much about him as a whole, but I'm really inspired by our volunteers. They are some of the most dedicated and caring folks that I have come across. No matter what they're doing, whether it's doing a food rescue, helping cull and sort food at the coolers, attending a giveaway and helping organize and get that running smoothly, they're always showing up. It's like rain or shine. On the holidays, like we had a community giveaway on Thanksgiving Day. We'll have one on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. And those volunteers who normally do that help, they will most likely be there. And so I don't know, they don't want good food to go to waste. They want it to go to people who need it. I feel like we have really good communication and like relationships with our volunteers. And, that as the logistics person, they're always updating, like letting me know if there's an update that needs to happen, like rescue details need tweaking or a contact needs to change. And all that input is so hugely helpful. And like, I want to make volunteering as easy and straightforward and rewarding. So folks keep coming back and they tell their friends and their neighbors to come volunteer with us. And I don't know, I just think like seeing their passion and their dedication, like whether it's doing a food rescue every 2 or 3 months, like when they can do it, or on a flexible schedule day when they don't have anything going on, but they just go check the food rescue schedule to see if something's available and they'll sign up for it. Or our volunteers who like adopt a rescue and it's like built into their weekly schedule and they do that rescue every week, same day, same time, they're there. So really, I think that like their passion for, reducing food waste or feeding people, it's just, that really drives me to do my job as best as I can.
Yeah, that's incredible. And then if our community is equally inspired by the things you've shared today, what can they do to help keep Austin fed, in addition to supporting those businesses you mentioned that already work with you guys?
Yeah. Well, like I said, you can become a volunteer. It's relatively straightforward. Like we do have an online virtual orientation over Zoom, just to sort of introduce folks to Keep Austin Fed, like what food rescue is, like how it works. And hopefully, like, fingers crossed, in the new year, we'll have an asynchronous module for volunteer orientation. So folks can kind of do it on their own time rather than having to attend a Zoom meeting that's scheduled. But that hopefully will help make it a little bit easier for folks to become a volunteer. And we don't have a minimum commitment. Some of our volunteers can volunteer 2-3 times a year, and that's totally fine. And like, as you mentioned, like supporting the businesses that donate food to us. If you know of food businesses, if you work at a food business, a grocery store, a restaurant, and you don't have a food donation program, I don't know, maybe put a little bug in the ear have them contact us. We're always looking for new food donors that we can bring onto our schedule and match up with one of our recipient organizations. Yeah. And obviously there's always the support us financially bit, like that helps us rescue more food and do it safely and efficiently. And then again, like just talk about food rescue. Like the more people that know about this work and that it exists, and the more that conversation happens, we can keep more food out of the landfills and more neighbors supported. And so good food should feed people. And I think that can be made that could happen every day.
Most definitely. And you literally do that.
Yes, we do.
Well, Jess, thank you for your time and your passion, but also thank you for your empathy and your kindness. And just, people can't see your face, but I can see very clearly how much you love the work you do. And it's just really heartwarming.
Thank you. I really do. And I work with a really wonderful group of folks. So I got to give props to them too, to keep everything running and keep Austin fed.
Huge thanks to Jess Palmer and the Keep Austin Fed team for the work they do every day to reduce hunger and keep good food out of landfills. If this conversation inspired you, you can volunteer, donate food, or support their programs at keepaustinfed.org and follow along on their social channels. Together, we can help more of our neighbors eat well and waste less.